What is up, guys? So today we are talking about insane TBC grinds that will take forever to complete. Some of these will require tens of hours, others will require hundreds of hours, and as we are moving from Classic WoW to the Burning Crusade, I thought it was time to talk about some insane grinds that you will most likely encounter sometime throughout your journey in the Outlands. In Classic WoW you had several similar grinds that would also take forever, like for example the Timbermaw Hold reputation, as well as getting your legendary items and the Winter Spring Frost Saber, and today I wanted to look at some TBC equivalents that could be quite interesting to at least know about. So the things we'll talk about today ranges from reputations that you can casually grind over time, to raid items with incredibly low drop rates that will take you a lot of time or a lot of luck to actually obtain, so without further ado, let's go. Number 1, the Aldor and Scryers reputation. This is arguably one of the most important decisions you will make in this game, and no matter what you decide, getting the reputation will be a grind, and if you for some reason want to change your reputation later on, you can do so, but it will require a lot more grinding, because the thing is that when you obtain or gain the reputation with one faction, you lose reputation with the other one, so at some point you will become so hated with the opposite faction that when you want to change your reputations you will have to farm hundreds of hours or spend thousands of gold in order to do so. But before we get into how to get the reputation for these factions, let's talk a little bit about why this is such an important choice. So to start with, they offer you some shoulder enchants, and these enchants are different between both factions. For example, the Aldor gives you the Greater Inscription of Warding, which gives you 15 dodge rating and 10 defense rating, while the Scryers offers you the Greater Inscription of the Knight, which gives you 15 defense rating and 10 dodge rating. So if you value defense more than dodge, the Scryers might be the best one for you. Likewise, for healers, the Aldor gives you the Greater Inscription of Faith, which gives you 33 healing, and 11 spell damage and 4 MP5, while the Scryers offers you 6 MP5 and 22 healing through the Greater Inscription of the Oracle. So if you really need that bit of MP5, the Scryers has got you covered, but for maximum healing output, the Aldor will be the obvious choice. For casters, the Aldor offers you the Greater Inscription of Discipline, increasing your spell damage by 18 and your crit chance by 10, while the Scryers gives you the Greater Inscription of the Orb, which gives you 15 crit and 12 spell damage, so it's all about stat priorities. For attack power users, the Aldor gives you the Greater Inscription of Vengeance, which gives you 30 attack power and 10 crit, while the Scryers gives you the Greater Inscription of the Blade, which gives you 15 crit and 20 attack power, so you are basically losing 10 attack power and gaining 5 crit. So once again, it's all about your stat weights and stat priorities. That being said, these shoulder enchants are not the only items that will affect your decision in which faction to choose, as you also have certain profession recipes, but the items you can craft with those recipes are tradable, so that is not a big factor. But what is a big factor are the weapons and armor you can get from these factions, some of which can be best in slot for some classes, or at least pre-raid best in slot, which can give you an edge in phase 1 of classic TBC. For example, you can get the Vindicator's brand from hitting Exalted with the Aldor, which is a very good one-handed sword that increases your hit rating and attack power, both of which are very important stats, especially that hit rating, and this sword will be wanted by both rogues and hunters, possibly even fury warriors. The Scryers has a dagger as well, which is a lot more boring, and only has primary stats on it, but it's still a nice dagger, and that is the Retainer's Blade. As a caster or a healer, you can also get your hands on a couple of nice staves as well, once you hit Revered, and the Aldor will give you the Orkanized Staff, while the Scryers will give you the Seer's Cane. Getting to the Revered with the Aldor will also give you a nice ring, which increases your attack power, and you have the Vindicator's Hauberk, which is handy for tanks. You have the Anchorite's Robes for the casters and healers once again, and for the Scryers you have the Gauntlets of the Chosen for tanks, and you have the Seer's Signets for healers and casters once you get to Exalted. From the Scryers you also have a very handy trinket called the Scryer's Blood Gem, which you will get at Revered, and this trinket is incredibly handy as it gives you a massive amount of hit rating on a trinket slot, as well as an on-use effect that increases your spell damage and healing, making it absolutely perfect for short burst fights. So here's where the grind is. To get the reputation for these factions, you can do a series of quests, or you can hand in items for repeatable quests, and the non-repeatable quests only takes you so far, so at some point you will have to do a lot of item hand-ins. Assuming you get yourself the friendly reputation, then using item hand-ins the rest of the way, that is 39,000 reputation, and each mark or each item gives you 25 reputation, meaning you would have to farm 1,560 marks, or you would need to get lucky and get some fell armaments or arcane tomes, but assuming you only hand in the lesser items, you will need 1,560 items. If you want to swap your reputations, you will also have to grind out 1,344 Dreadfang Venom Sacks as a non-human to get yourself to neutral, for then to grind out a lot of marks all over again as well, so that is a grind and a half. Number 2, Raid Attunements. This actually is a grind and a half as well, but the actual length of the grind will depend on when you start playing. The grind itself is pretty much the same throughout the entire expansion, but for example if you attune yourself to Karazhan in Phase 1, you will get that done fairly quickly, and then you can attune yourself to the next raid in Phase 2, and Phase 3, etc. and etc. While if you start in Phase 5, you have one massive grind for attuning yourself ahead of you, which can be a bit demoralizing because you see yourself being so far behind. That being said, most of the attunements get done by itself as long as you have the quests, as you will have to do dungeons and raids to attune yourself, and even doing these dungeons and raids gets easier over time because of direct nerfs to the difficulties, plus heroic dungeon keys being accessible at Honored Reputation later in TBC, while at the start it requires Revered. Number 3, Rep Grinds. I can't really talk about TBC grinds without mentioning reputations, and like I said in the point just before this, people need reputation to access heroic dungeons, and at the start they will need Revered Reputation, while later on you will only need Honored. The heroic dungeon keys is not the only reason you will want to grind reputations though, as some reputations offer unique items and weapons that are useful to some classes, some offer patterns and recipes for professions, and many factions even offer their own head enchants that differ from faction to faction, meaning you need to target grind a reputation that is relevant to you. Many of these reputations you will need grind passively while leveling, especially if you're doing dungeon leveling, but reputations like the Consortium, the Kurenai, Maghar, Aldor and Scryers will take a little bit of extra work. Number 4, Legendaries. While TBC doesn't have many versions of the Savage Gladiator's Chain or Hands of Justice, or items with insanely low drop rates from dungeons, or even rare boss spawns like Jedin UBRS, we still have the same old legendary system. Namely, we have the Thoridal, the Star's Fury, which is dropped by Kill Jaden in the Sunwell Plateau, which is totally a rogue weapon, and rogues should have prio over hunters. That's a joke, by the way. Then we also have the Warglaze of Asinoth, which is actually 2 separate drops, which is where the grind really kicks in. Both the Thoridal and Warglaves are fairly straightforward on how to obtain, as they are straight up drops from the last boss in their own raids, Thoridal from Sunwell, and Warglaves from Black Temple. But what makes the Warglaves particularly interesting in my opinion is that you have a main hand and an offhand. So this is like the Thunder Fury bindings from Molten Core all over again. Your guild could see none of the Warglaves drop, or you could get trolled by Blizzard and only receive offhands and never see the main hand, and vice versa. Number 5, the Netherwing Drake mounts. The Netherwing Drakes are notoriously known for being one of the coolest types of mounts added throughout TBC, and you can get your hands on one of these by grinding the reputation with them. You will find the Netherwing Dragonflight in Shadowmoon Valley, where you will go through a series of quests to get yourself from hated to neutral reputation, and once you're at neutral, the grind to exalted begins. Getting a reputation with these bad boys will require you to do some daily quests for a long time, but you can also speed this process up by hunting and delivering Netherwing eggs through a repeatable quest. but even that will take some time and dedication, and I would assume a lot of players will be hunting those eggs. And that is pretty much it. That is 5 different TBC grinds that will take you a lot of time to complete, but at least it gives you some things to work towards, and I know personally I'm going to be looking into doing at least 4 of these. Let me know in the comments down below which TBC grinds you are looking forward to the most, and remember to give the video a like if you enjoyed it, and subscribe for more videos. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again very soon.